Shrug. I found this pattern in a magazine, Threads magazine. 2-minute instant shrug. So easy. I'm gonna show you how to make it. Coming up. Hey, Chanel here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. Well, I finally got around to reading one of my sewing magazines. I looked on the date here, spring 2007. Wow. Now actually I had a lady donate a lot of Threads magazines and a couple other different magazines, and I had a stack of them that I look through once in a while to get ideas. So I found this 2-minute instant shrug, and I had an intern working with me last spring. Maybe that was before COVID. It's been a while. Wow, must have had this for a while. And I was trying to test her pattern making skills and sewing, and also give her something real simple. So I thought, let's make this real quick and see if it's 2 minutes, but it wasn't 2 minutes. Actually, it's 2 minutes. It was pretty fast to sew, but I mean, it's 2 minutes to sew. You can see it right here, but you have to finish the edges and the hem. Like this is just a raw edge, and yeah, I like to finish edges and stuff because, you know, whatever. I can even still do this chalk mark on this right here. So this is the one she made. It's pretty cool. It has like the seam right here, and you just put it on real simple, and then oh my gosh, you don't even feel it on, and it's staying right here too. So I'm very excited. I actually ended up I had her make a pattern for me. This is the pattern instructions they gave us, and I guess there's several different types in here. They call it a bat wing, a dancer's one. I think this is the dancer's one. And this looks confusing to me. I can actually pattern draft and all that, but this looked a little confusing to me. So she came up with this pattern here. She just drafted it. So we thought, you know, instead of just drawing it on the fabric, let's get a pattern. And I'll also copy it and have it for you as a PDF, so you can make one too. It's pretty simple. So I have this skirt, actually skirt. I'm always making skirts. So let's see. This is what it looks like. I feel so naked. That was warm. This is what it looks like right here, and it's on the fold, so it's straight like that. I don't know if you can see it, like this. Very weird. And then you open it up at the bottom right here. You put your arms through here, and the other one through here, and then voila, it's on. So what could be easier than that? I don't know. So then recently I found some fabric in my stash. Don't we all have stash? Oh my gosh. This is like a nice comfy cotton one. I'm gonna make one out of this for it. And then every year I go to the Costume Designers Guild, and I always need some kind of shawl or something because my arms aren't so great anymore. And I have this burnt out silk chiffon that I've had in my stash for a while. So I thought, hey, this would be beautiful in this pattern. And what I'll do is I'll put a French seam through here and then just hem it right there, and then do a binding. I'll have to get like a silk, China silk or some kind of silk, just do an edging binding all the way around here, and then that will just be a beautiful little shrug to go over an evening dress, or even just a simple top. Make it more like an evening thing. I don't know. Wear it for breakfast. Who cares? But so I'm gonna whip up those two. Should be done in 4 minutes. Anyway, I'm gonna show you how to make them. Okay, first I have this big old piece of knit fabric, and I only need a narrow part of it. So I have the selvage. This happens to be a double stretch here, which is good because I'm gonna follow the selvage, but I'm gonna trim this out so I can get it lined up and evened out the best I can. So I marked where I need the fold right there, and then how long I need it, which is way over here. Can't see in the video. So I'm going to open this up and then get a big square what I need. That's not going to be easy. I'm going to have to measure all this. I got chalk marks right here and just measure this and then cut a chunk of it out. And then I'll have this piece of fabric left over because I cannot remember what I bought this for. It might have been for tank tops for my skirts and may not be enough, but it don't matter because this is soft and I think I will wear this a lot. So I'm going to get a nice even square of this and then I'll be folding it nice and even. So the hardest part of knits is getting it cut and balanced right here because look how this is just all chopped up right here. I got to get it so it doesn't roll right here. So I gotta work with that. That's going to be probably the hardest part of this whole thing. Have this all balanced out, trimmed out. It's a little easier to work with. And just got to put my pattern on here. Like that. This is actually how crooked it was. This is actually one of the layers and didn't match up to the rest of the layers. So, but when you have knits like this, you don't want it to kind of have rolls in it. You want it to lay as smooth as it can, because otherwise you put it on and it's going to twist around your body, and that's no fun. So who wants to take the time to make something and have that happen? But probably one of the biggest reasons I hate working with knits, and this is a thinner knit. Sometimes the thinner the knits, the more troublesome they are. So I think also I have this little extra part right here. I'm going to make this one a little bit longer. I have like 2 inches in here, and I'm going to see how that fits, and I can always cut it off. So I think I'm going to add 2 inches to this one, wherever this part is, and I'll try it on before I cut out my burnt out silk. And there we go. Ready to cut. Cut one on the fold. Usually I always pin, but this is such a big pattern and I'm not moving the fabric around, so I think it should be good. Have this all cut out, and I also cut it out right sides together, which is great, so now I don't have to flip it. So I'm just going to be pinning this seam here, and I'm going to use a stretch stitch, especially here, because when you put it on, that's really going to crack if it's not a stretch stitch. And I'm going to use a size 11 needle, the ballpoint, which is for the knit fabric. If you try to use woven needles on a knit fabric, it really makes a terrible noise. It doesn't like to go through. Also, so this is the armhole here. I'm actually going to pre-mark it. I think I'm just going to be rolling this up 1/2 inch, and I'm going to press it after I stitch this seam right here. So I'll have my mark also just ready to go. And I'm just going to probably just do like one of my favorite little stretch stitch marks. I call one of them the honeycomb on my machine. Got this new Brother machine that's got all these fun stitches on it, and I'm just going to be pressing that up and then just running the honeycomb stitch across there, and that's how simple that will be. And then right here, also, and this is the part that goes around the neck, and I'm going to mark that 1/2 inch also. So I just have on my clear ruler 1/2 inch marks. I love this clear ruler with it's got the big numbers here. When I hit 40, I couldn't see the numbers anymore, and then they came out with this because I kept going, God, I wish they'd put the numbers bigger, and then and then they did. I was so excited. So so I'll just mark that 1/2 inch already, get it all prepared, and then this is the other armhole right here. I'll pin that. I know a lot of people don't pin. I don't understand why they don't. And you know if things are going awry, if your pins aren't matching up. Right, I'm going to go and run this through the straight stitch, or the stretch stitch. It's a straight stitch, but it's a stretch stitch. Just 2 seams like that, and then I'll hem it. That's it. Yep, they were right. That was easy. Just 2 seams there. I did a stretch stitch on the inside. Where'd it go? Just a nice stretch stitch right there. A stretch stitch is when the machine goes front, back, front, front, back, front, front, back, front. It takes it takes a while for it to stitch. If you don't have a stretch stitch, you can use a zigzag on it. Look on your machine, you might have like usually looks like a little narrow zigzag. That kind of helps it go there too, but see, it doesn't crack. So if you actually just sewed it straight, just like a regular stitch, you'd go like this and it would crack if it's a knit fabric, right? Stretch stitches are great. And make sure you use use a ballpoint needle. I don't want anything like pull, pull, pull. That's what it sounds like when you try to use a woven needle. So what it did now is just trim. I'm going to trim this a little bit shorter, and then I'm going to hem it. So I did a sample from my honeycomb hem, like right here, and I pressed it over. Now the trick with getting this to lay really straight is to press it first and let it cool. So you press, don't move it real fast because then it won't have a crease in it. But if you have a nice crease in it, this will stitch really well. So that's my little honeycomb stitch right here. That's the outside. This is what it looks like. Well, this looks what it looks like on the right side. So that'll just be a nice, see, and it's also a stretch stitch. So it'll be a nice finish because it goes around the front and then around the wrist. I think this fits about here, so it's like a bracelet sleeve. So here is the sleeve. I pressed the first one. You can see my crease. The fabric actually kind of burned a little bit. I got polyester in it. Gotta be careful with that. So I have a nice strong crease right there, and then I'm just gonna go around it and do my little honeycomb one, and then I'm gonna do the whole thing right here, and then the whole thing will be done. It is pretty easy. Wow. It's like if you had like an evening gown or just anything, any like simple little dress, and you wanted like a white, I love white little jackets, so I gotta go get some white fabric. Probably have some in my stash. Anyway, I'm going to finish this up, then I'm going to start on the next one. So I'm going to stretch stitch this whole hem here. I thought I'd show you the stitch I'm using. This is a Brother Machine 3340. I don't know if they're making it anymore. I found it some great deal. But they have an exact copy of this. I have it on my website under the sewing machines. But I'm using 21. On this, it's the honeycomb. I kind of call it the honeycomb. And then I also moved the width to be the widest it will go, so that this will be wider. Because you can just, I think the default it was, I don't know, 4.5 or something. So it goes to the 7. And this, the length of it was a little shorter too, like 1.6, but I did it at 2. So then I just get it in place, and then the stretch stitch, you just have to, you can't really pull it, you have to let the feed dogs take it. And it just takes some time because it's, you know, really doing its stitch. I also have it on the fastest speed. I think it, how would that sound with it? Yeah, too slow. Just like that. The other thing I have too, I just discovered this was the fabric kind of rolled over that. I'll actually zoom in here and you'll see the fabric rolled over just this part of the presser foot, and it's just kind of doing a nice little cover stitch. It's hitting it right on the edge that way. It's kind of strange. Put my finger a little close. You're probably nervous. It's just doing a nice, really nice stitch that way. It's a long seam. It takes some time, but it's just sewing beautifully right here. And then it's got this nice honeycomb in the inside. And that's it. That's a stretch stitch, honeycomb stitch. Ta-da! I have a new Shrug. This is comfy. I don't even feel like it's on. This is so great. Just throw it on. It's airy. I like it. I like it. I like it. I can make this out of all kinds of fabric. Oh my gosh. This is why that hem part is so important, because it shows all right here. It's the whole hem. And then the sleeve part is put a nice hem on there. Anyway, so I am going to make my next one here, and I'm going to do French seams. That one part, which is really simple. I do have a video on how to make French seams. I'll put it in a card up here, and pretty simple. And this one, I gotta get binding to put all the way around here. I'm gonna do like a black satin binding around the edges, probably on the sleeves too. So yeah, just add a little extra to this. Now I gotta go find black binding. All right, be right back. I went to the fabric store yesterday to look for a black binding, and I didn't find anything. I didn't look really hard. I actually got distracted by other things, so I forgot about it. But I came in this morning and I found this in my stash. It's a black grosgrain ribbon, and it's softer than the usual grosgrains, and I have a feeling I've had this in my stash for a long time. Might have even, I don't know, it could be much older because it's soft, which means it's not like the new ones they put out. I don't know, vintage. But this will look really good next to this as a binding, and I don't really need bias because it's just going straight. And what I thought I'd do is maybe fold this in half right here, press it, and then kind of press the ends right here, and then when I'm done, not overlap it but bump it right up to there, and then that would make a really pretty binding on this fabric. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get to cutting this out. Okay, have my pattern laid out, figured out where that half is. I'm going to tear. I've got it torn on the cross grain here, so I get a nice even amount. And then the length grain is tearing also, so I'm just going to tear that. It's tearing evenly. Wow. And I have this little piece of fabric to do something with. It could be really pretty. And then I have 2 even pieces right here. See, nice and straight. Get this all straight, and I'm going to bump up my sleeves right on the raw edge. And I think I'll clip off this selvage also. And actually I have to measure that. I'll get that's tearing, get my edges all just torn parts. I'll have to balance this out. Yes. That, exactly. Now all I gotta do is cut this right here. I think that is gonna be the ticket. So I don't want to keep the selvage on there because it's stiffer. And then I'm gonna put that binding on it already, which will be stiff enough on there. And then I'll have, yeah, and then now I'm going to also be doing a French seam. Pattern's flying away. I'm going to be doing a French seam, so I'm going to put these wrong sides together, because when you do French seams, they start out wrong sides together. You sew it 1/4 inch, that's that armhole part, and then turn it inside, you trim it, and then you sew it on the right side. Something like that. So, all right, so I'm going to lay this all out, get all my cross grains. This is why I like these cutting boards like this. You can actually anchor your pins in there and get your fabric really laid out the right way. You can even air this out, and then it stays put. These cardboard cutting boards are so handy in so many ways. So if you're not using them, your life will change once you get one. You're using those, what do you call it, rotaries. The mats are great, but you can't anchor stuff in. You know, get stuff on grain right. All right, so I'm going to get that there and finish this up. And this is on the fold here, so I got a raw edge here. Let's make it a little bit longer, and then I got to tear my other edge to be there also. And all I got to do is cut this side and then the other one also, which is out of your camera frame. I'm just going to cut that and then do French seams on these 2 armhole edges. Got my French seam in, Looks really great, and closed up all the seams. Make sure I clipped the curves before I did the final part. Also, if you need the French seam, if you have a shear like this, I have a card I'll put up here. I have a video on how to do French seams. They're pretty simple. Next step, I actually started pinning on my binding. It looks really great. I also figured out when putting this on, you got to start the binding like in the center of the, it's hard to show in here, the center of the whole thing. You don't start it at the side seam or at that seam right there, because this actually shows like right on front of your elbow. So I put the front and the ending right in the back here. So what I'm going to do is sew that, and then I'll be folding this right here. I want to have these end right here, not overlap each other, because I think that'll look a little bit nicer. Sometimes overlap, it's like clumpy or like that, but I'm going to try and get it right in there. It's going to be tough. That's why I'm going to keep this open, because some of that might stretch while I'm going. So I simply just put the ending right in the crease of that ribbon, fold it over, and I'm just going to stitch just like a binding all the way around there. Make sure I got a good, my needle's still sharp. I have a size 11 woven in there, and then just take my time, stitch around it, and then that should be all binded right there, and then I'll do the armholes. Got the binding all done. Went on really nicely. This was pretty easy to sew. So went on there, my little joint right here that went on it, it's okay, but that'll be like in the center back, you won't see it, so that's good. But got my sleeves started also. I just have to sew the sleeves on, then this thing's done. So I actually got them all pinned on right here. Just did that half there. With this kind of finish, I just pinned it all together. Sometimes when you're doing bias tape, you actually just, you don't pin it, you sew it as it goes, because it stretches. On these, my sleeves here, I am gonna kind of cap it over a little bit. I think it looks pretty good that way. And I put this joint part right here where it joins, not on the seam. Where's the seam? It's right here, but I kind of put it like in the center back, because when you wear this seam actually is runs right here, and then so where it ends up, how to explain this, where the joint stuff right there, I don't like that to show as much, so I put it where it's not going to show, which is on this case right there. So now all I got to do is go stitch this around, and this is done. These are really quick. Ta-da! It is done. That
was easy.
What else can you say? That was easy. This was easier the second time with the binding. It seemed like it was easier. The knit one was like, turn it over, press it, and that whole stretch stitch. It's actually, these are easier. It doesn't feel any different either with the woven. So I love it. This is going to make, I mean, just go over anything just simple and dress it up. And you can make so many different fabrics out of it. It's crazy. And I didn't do a yardage on how much fabric we need on this. It looks like about a yard and a quarter or so. I'm going to make this pattern available, so I'll just put a link where you go right into my website, and you just download the pattern right there. I'll make it into a PDF, and you can make one. It's very simple. So give me a thumbs up if you like the shrug and you're going to make one. Also, let me know if you made one. I'd love to see a picture of it too, and what kind of fabric, and if you learned any different tricks on doing these fast or different or anything, I'd love to know. Anyway, I'll see you in the next sew bit.